And hello, everybody, and welcome to Toit Snuffers. I'm your host, Colin Connors. With me, as always, is my wonderful co-host / Latina flavor, Alicia Garza.
Hey, guys.
Also joining us today, the very brilliant Stephen Lehman.
Thanks, Colin.
Oh, heart, thank you, heart to you. And, of course, the amazing Prince Ty.
Good evening.
But as much as I like my panelists, that all fails in comparison to our special guest tonight from Survivor Philippines, the one, the only, Artis Silvester. Artis, woo!
What's up, people? How y'all doing? Thank you so much for having me.
Oh my goodness, we have so much to talk about, including Artis' game in the Philippines, and of course tonight's amazing episode, which had the second blind side of the season. So things are already heating up. So Artis, real quick, I wanted to talk with you about something that happened in the first episode of this season, which was that the Millennials camp, or the Millennials and the Gen X's camps, got destroyed by the hurricane.
Right.
Yes. How does that compare to what you had faced in the Philippines? Because you guys' tribe was named Damn Rain, so clearly it must have been something bad.
It literally rained every day when we were out there. Every day. We didn't get a storm that came through, but it rained day and night. Our first 18 days were absolutely miserable. It was horrible. But we didn't get a storm. We didn't get the wind destruction that they got, but it got free. It was like scorching hot in the daytime and freezing cold at night.
So would you have rather just had a big storm and get it out of the way than deal with that every single day?
Actually, absolutely. I would have loved to have it come in and just go away because, like I said, it was just miserable. You were wet. You couldn't get dry. It was just a bad situation all the way around.
And us super fans, we hear the people on the island say, oh my gosh, everything's so wet. And then 10 minutes later, everything's dry. But can you just describe more in detail, like how awful it is to have everything wet? 'Cause I've never had that before.
There's a picture. They took a picture of me when I was in the shelter. We were drenched, and you could actually see my fingers had turned white because they were so wet. It literally, if I had ripped my skin, I probably would have ripped it all the way down to the bone. That's just how frail it had gotten.
Oh my gosh.
And I think now that you mentioned, I do remember that picture of you. And I'm actually going to ask you the very first question pertaining to the episode as well. So we come back to the Millennials camps post-tribal council, and tensions are always high. And you see Hannah making kind of a big mistake in trying to approach Zeke and getting him on his side. So one, as a player, what's that feeling like coming back from a tribal council? And two, why do you think Hannah is dumb enough to make these kind of mistakes? Because I have a huge crush on her, and I don't want to admit she has faults.
What happens is, first, she should have left him alone. I was in that exact same situation, and I told the person that came up to me, look, don't talk to me today. Leave me alone. I will come to you when I'm ready. But right now, this is a bad situation for you. So I understood exactly what Zeke was going through with Hannah. But coming back from that situation when you thought you had everything wrapped up and then it didn't go your way and you're on the bottom, that is miserable because now you have to reset. And that's what she wasn't thinking. And they had the numbers to do what they needed to do. Mm-hmm. If nobody talks to you at all during the game, and then in tribal council, they tell you, vote this way and I'll explain to you later. You're an idiot to believe them.
Yes.
I actually agree with you on that, and I wasn't here last week. But
I was, and it killed me.
And I do want to hear everyone else's opinion on this. Alicia, did she just make a bad mistake, or is she actually not a good player and I should stop projecting all these positive qualities onto her?
I feel bad because I kind of talked shit about Hannah last episode. I said she was a try-hard, and so she was trying to just like people please and like try and seem like she was cool. And so because the cool kids were like, "Hey, girl, do this for me," she was like, "Okay, like yeah, I want to be popular too." So she did it. So I don't know that. I just think she's easily influenced by like the quote popular kids, like we're in high school or something. So that is going to be making her a bad player if that's what continues to happen.
And I definitely can see that going forward. Real quick, Artis, though, you said you're in that situation where, you said, leave me alone, don't talk to me. Do you ever look back on those moments and go, maybe my game would have been a little bit better if I could have tried to talk right then? Like, do you think Zeke would be in a better position if he could have immediately mustered it up and talked to Hannah? Or do you think Okay, go ahead.
No, what would have came out of his mouth would have not been nice, and he spent the rest of the game trying to make up for that.
Yeah.
Because it would have turned her totally against him. He did the best possible thing he could, because at that moment, when you're upset like that, what comes out of your mouth, although it may be honest, it will be brutally honest. And the way that person receives it could ruin your game.
So maybe, and Ty, you can jump in on this, I was actually wrong to think that Zeke made a bad move by acting the way he did. In reality, it sounds like he might have been doing the correct thing by just being like, leave me alone right now.
I would concur with that. I feel like when you're angry, you say things that you regret later. And in the game of Survivor, those impressions, if they had lost that challenge, it really could have damaged him if he had told her off to the full degree that he wanted to tell her off. Probably a good thing that he didn't, by kind of shooing her away at that time. I can't believe you're trying to sweep under the rug that Hannah, the girl you love, said, use me. On television. Are we going to gloss over that fact, Colin?
I am, because there's a certain level of professionalism that
Oh my God, no, it's that you're in love with Hannah, so you don't want to talk ill of her, Colin. We all know.
That may be a part of it. When I get really into TV, and this is very rare, especially when people I like mess up, I curse at the TV. Like, for instance, if there's a sporting team that Panthers are playing, you know, if the Seahawks are beating the Panthers, I don't care. But when the Panthers mess up, I yell at them. So I did yell, fucking Hannah, like 3 times during this. And I'm normally very quiet when I do anything.
I feel like that's common for sports games, but maybe not for reality television. That's just the level of passion we have here, unfortunately.
Exactly. I yell during Survivor, and I yell during presidential debates. That's kind of where I am. So, Artis, I wanted to ask you a question about how they're hiding the idols this season. In your season, famously, they put the idols on top of the rice lid, and in this season, they're in the coconuts.
Yes. I just don't even want to talk about that, because I remember that. I must have carried that idol, or I must have carried that idol 16 times and never even thought that was it. I had it in my hand so many times.
Well, and I guess the only thing I have to say is you did see Survivor China where it was up on the plaque. Why don't you think you ever put the 2 together?
I don't know. I knew it was in the camp. Production was asking me. They did ask me one question. It was like, why aren't you looking for the idol while everybody was scrambling around for it? And I said, I got to think, and I was like, you just dropped every tribe off on a different island out in the Philippines. Do you really think I believe y'all went out on this island somewhere to hide this thing? It's in this camp somewhere. I just got to find it.
And was it very painful?
Like, working smarter, not harder.
Yeah. Exactly. How painful was it, though, when that happened, when you're like,
yeah, that was brutal. The one thing I kept saying is, please don't show that on TV. Please don't show that on TV.
So what do you make of the idols in the coconuts? Do you like that little twist?
That's great. I mean, they've done some stuff this season that I'm actually really, really impressed with. From the challenges to hiding the idol inside the coconut to giving out that clue that if you get voted off, you have to will it to someone else. Mm-hmm. I'm like, those are some fabulous twists for the game.
You were like, where was that on my season? All my twists was Mike scooping. This is BS.
Oh yeah, let's not go there.
Yeah, we're not gonna. Yeah,
we're trying to let dying dogs lay.
Yeah, that's very fair. And for those of you who don't know, you can Google it. But Artis, I think we're all on the same page with that. So, Steven, you are a Survivor super fan, obviously. Yep. What is your take on the idols?
He's only a panelist on a Survivor.
Yeah. What's your take on the idols and the coconuts? And do you think that there could be something a little too far, like, you know, a couple seasons from now? Because I mean, we did have the BS second chance thing where the idol was just like hung up for Jeremy.
Yeah, it's like, hey, follow this path. It's hung between these 2 trees. You know, I like the coconuts. Me being the not as physical character that I am, I probably would not think to be like, chop open the coconut. And it's I like what they're doing, although I hope they don't jump the shark within a few seasons and just like, oh, I don't know, put it literally in the like on top of the bag of rice, like in a bag of rice, and be like, it is on your rice, like get it, please. Like
they put it in a live fish, and they're like the fish.
I was gonna say, I thought you said put it in a shark, and I was like, oh my god, that would be like the most dramatic season of Survivor ever.
You know, like ripping off, wrestling the shark and.
We know Ken would get the shark, and Ken is actually going to be our next topic of discussion.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So, Artis, you dealt a lot with on your season people being portrayed, edited in certain lights. You know, they were too good, they were too bad.
Right.
The first 2 episodes with Ken, I think we only got positive sides. And I think on this episode, though, they were trying to show him as positive, but he was actually coming across as a little braggadocious in my mind. Am I projecting onto him, or are they actually starting to set him up as a little bit more complex than just a hero?
I like Ken. I mean, I could see it. I know from being a physical player, when you have somebody that steps in the camp that acts like they run in the camp, and you know good and damn well they ain't got no business opening their mouth, it's hard to sit back and say nothing, because with everybody jumping on board, if he opens his mouth, it puts a target on him. But once he started explaining his position to everybody, and what he did, what I like about him is he didn't do it as a group. He did it individually. He pulled individual people aside and said, look, you need to look at this. This guy's all talk and no action. And he started opening their eyes to other things. So I like the way it's being portrayed right now. Now, granted, there's a lot of stuff that's going on that we don't know about. But the way they presented it right now, I have no problem with it. I actually do like Ken.
Well, and I think we like him too. I just thought it was interesting how he was given almost a one-dimensional hero edit, and then this episode it was a bit more flourished. But Steve, go ahead.
I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that the millennials called him Ken doll, and production just jumped all on that. It was like, we're gonna have to run with this.
And you just see Ken just looking sad, like, I'm a beautiful man, everyone loves me, I have money. But see, he's Kendall, but I've always been Colin, and I don't have anywhere near his good look, so I think he can handle that. Ty, I want to ask you your opinion on Ken and his edit. Do you think there's any room in there to get anything but a positive tone from it tonight?
He's our hero. Paul was shown through the first 2 episodes to be like an old bitchy Rupert that like lost his moral thing or something or other, and went back out on Survivor and bitched a lot about all those young whippersnappers. And yet somehow he was the leader. We weren't really sure how, particularly since Ken actually could fish. Ken was the hero. He went and actually got fish. They were like, that fat son of a bitch didn't catch any fish. Maybe we should vote him out. And then my girl, boring Jessica, that you all mocked me for taking in my fantasy league, was like, that guy is fat and lazy. Maybe we should keep him around. And then they didn't keep him around. So it ended up working out about how I would have expected. Ken is your hero. Ken is sticking up for the little guy. They're picking on David. He likes David. Ken is like OTTP, possibly CPP in his edit. He's our hero. I don't know if he wins, but he's our hero.
I was going to say, Artis, I don't know how much you know about the nerdy Survivor community, but we do have this edit chart where we break down everybody's confessionals and tones. And we're going to talk about your confessionals or lack thereof in a bit. That's going to be something I'm looking forward to also discussing tonight. Okay. But before we get off the Ken train, does anyone else want to comment, Alicia or Steven?
Do we kind of see Ken and David duo as maybe like a JT and Steven duo from Token Cheens?
It's possible.
I think
I'm liking that vibe if that's what we're thinking.
I think that's a very good possibility, but I think it's still a little too early to figure out.
Real quick on the Ken train, I also just love that like you just can sense the exasperation in his confessional. Just like really like these people are following Paul, like Paul is like old washed up hippie rocker. I don't know what in the world to even call him at this point, like dead fish. But oh gosh, yeah. I mean,
okay, so let's move on to the biggest kind of thing of this episode, not counting Tribal Council, and that was the People's Summit. Artis, as a super fan, what did you make of this? And do you think this is actually going to change the gambit? Because I feel like if they don't swap in 2 or 3 cycles, David's going to figure out Taylor, and it's all worthless. That's just my.
I wasn't quite sure. The summit kind of I'm kind of on a bubble about that, because when I watched it, I'm like, nothing really happened. Everybody went there saying they were gonna try to figure out what's going on with the other camp, but they just all ate. They went there to eat. They went there and ate. Now I gotta give my boy David. I gotta give him props. All right, he did lay the little birdie in the ear that if he makes it to the merge, that look, I have zero problem with trashing everybody on my tribe.
Yeah.
So you think? I mean, was that given to us for no reason, or is that what we're going to see? Is David going to pull a Cochrane on us 4 episodes from now?
If he's there, he quite possibly could pull a Cochrane on us, because like after the first episode, I said David had no chance in hell at winning this game. Now I don't know. David has won me over.
Yay!
Yay!
David's
I've always we even talked about this on the podcast. Us super fans, we've kind of projected a lot onto David because we're like, if we play Survivor, we might be just as neurotic and bad. So let's hope he goes far, because that means we have hope.
Definitely. I think I called him, he's like everyman Survivor. He's out there with like all of the average Joes that, you know,
especially
wouldn't like kick ass and take names. We would just be like, oh my god, Bugs.
Yeah, this is Bugs. In a way, he's kind of like how you would expect a millennial to act like, because he is so like, oh god, I'm neurotic, I'm weird. Ty, did I just strike a nerve with that? Is maybe that's David's story?
You're absolutely correct. I feel like he really has legs if he makes it to wherever the swap or the merge is, because he is basically a millennial trapped in a 40-year-old's body. On that tribe, he fits with the weird millennials. Hannah will scream, use me, and David will be like, yes, please. And will be perfect. Like, that's where he belongs, and I think he'll bring Ken along with him. I think that's why those two are going to do really well. I do see, to jump on Alicia's point, the JT and Steven thing, where those two fit in with the much larger majority. And like, just like Coach wanted to iron sharpen iron, I can see the millennials digging Kendall because he's hot and digging because he's weird, and them doing really well. I could see it without question.
Well, I guess my only comment to that would be, you said Hannah say, use me, David. I can't picture that. Hannah and Ken, whatever, I would get it. I don't get a Hannah David. So something we actually didn't talk about when it came to the summit, and all right, so I'm going to talk with you first about this, is production put this together to try to get the ball rolling, but is there actually anything super intelligent, unless you're literally in David's position, that could come of saying anything at the summit? Like, because I feel like if David got caught saying that, he's done. Like, if someone was behind him.
Absolutely. That's the only thing that you have to worry about in a situation like that, is people with those large ears listening to what you have to say. But other than that, unless they were going straight to the merge after that summit, I really didn't see any value in it, because we still got what, 3-4 episodes before they even consider merging, unless they do something weird and mix up the tribes. Because the summit's over, they're back to the original tribe. Those 4 people have a little bit of knowledge, but they can't use any of it unless they make it to the merge.
Well, it just seems like to me as a player, it might be an unnecessary risk to go into the summit and spill all the beans about your tribe,
especially this early. This early in the game, it's like, do you really want to risk your game right now? I would have rather not went to the summit, other than the fact that they got to eat.
Yes.
And I was going to ask, if you were in the summit, even with all the problems that were going on your tribe, would you have said anything to like people on Matt Singh?
Oh, no, absolutely not. Because, you know, at a situation like that, I know they're trying to get information out of me, and I'm trying to get information out of them. And I'm like, I'm not giving up anything until we get to the merge and everybody goes to tribal council.
That's fair. And Alicia, you wanted to comment. And if anyone else wants to talk about summit strategy as well, I would love to hear it.
So I'm just thinking, like, say David is like, guys, look, I'm on the bottom along with Ken and CC. And then they come back next episode and none of the 3 of them are gone and someone else is in fact gone, which is what's about to happen next episode. And then he looks like a total liar. And then, it totally backfires. So I just don't see the value in spilling very specific things, because it's Survivor. Like, things change on a dime. Like, you never know.
And that's fair. Does anyone else want to make a quick comment about summit strategy? No? All right. So something I thought was really interesting about the way it was being edited with David talking to Taylor was that it looked like the unpopular Gen Xers would be aligning with the popular millennials, and then it would be vice versa. Am I just projecting some weird fantasy thing where all the hot young people and all the old losers get together? Like, I'm trying to figure out, is that going to be the dividing line in the merge?
In the merge? I don't know. Because right now, it all depends on who who makes it to the merge from Gen X. That's what it all and whether or not Zeke and Will have the ability to pull off what should be obvious and break up the power couple. If they can break up the power couple, this game is going to turn on its head. Other than that, it's just going to run. It's going to run standard course, just like a lot of the other seasons until the merge comes.
Very good point. And Ty, you wanted to chime in on this.
I will say this: when I saw that they were showing specifically David and Taylor together, my thought process is that David might be an outlet for Taylor after Taylor loses his boo, because basically most of what we got on the Millennials this episode was Adam being like, "I'm down, but I'm not out. I'm going to go ahead and drop logic everywhere." Just logic bombs. Boom, 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 boom. You've got Michaela making her hilarious faces as she reacts to everything and basically saying, when I want to do it. But why would they bother bringing it up if Adam was just going to get voted out the next time they go to tribal council, or Zeke was just going to get voted out the next time they go to tribal council? I still think Figgy's screwed, just not yet.
And I think it's very fair because we also we also saw
in one of two ways.
I think she's been screwed quite a number of times in the game.
Anyways, it is important. The editors did show us Michaela saying, "I still don't like Figgy," so I think you are definitely onto something there. And Artis, what do you think? Do you think Figgy, that power couple, is actually going to be gone next week?
If not next week, the week after. It all depends on whether or not they win immunity. You know. Now I'm gonna tell you that. Listen, Michaela, if she doesn't get rid of Figgy soon, like the next time they go to tribal counselor, her days are numbered in the game.
Yeah, Figgy wants her gone too.
Yeah, Figgy's gonna get rid of her if she can't.
Yep.
Oh man.
So I think we've done a pretty good job of discussing the Millennials, and now let's talk about Paul leaving. I actually think they might have jumped the gun, the Alliance of Five chiming in on Paul, because I think Paul would have been a great shield if they could have kept him around.
He sealed his own fate. And that went up to Sunday and said, if there's an all guys alliance, I'm gonna go let you know that you girls are on your own. I was like, okay, game over.
Yeah, I was like, no.
Oh my god, he could have just ended
like, game over.
I'm gonna let you girls know.
Yeah.
And then it would have been perfect. And then he was like, "You're on your own," and I was like, "Oh my god!"
The whole thing reminded me of Ned Stark's strategy with the Lannisters in season 1 of Game of Thrones, where he's like, "Here are the reasons I don't trust you, and I'm going to tell the king at this specific time. Please don't do anything to stop me in the meantime." Like any of the things.
But don't you think, though, just for argument's sake, the girls could have taken that knowledge, put it in their back pockets, voted off CC and kept the majority, and then when a swap comes, and then when push comes to shove, they get rid of Paul, because Paul was a big target.
You can't count
I
on
will
it.
say
You can't count on making it there. If they're voting off another girl in CC, like, what are they gonna do? Be like other guys that are on the outs. There's a guy thing. They'll be like, "Oh, great, let me try and join it."
Right? They were picking off the girls one by one, and that's what they had to look at. And she was like, "Oh no, we're gonna have to chop this, and we're gonna have to stop this right now. Who can we get rid?" And it came down to who can we get rid of, who everybody could understand, but then not get mad at us for doing it. And it was Paul.
That's
by opening his own mouth.
Yep.
Okay, go ahead, Ty. You've been wanting to get on this.
The point that you make about Paul being a good meat shield doesn't really hold water, because if you get into the individual games, somebody like Paul stays around for forever because he's not a threat to win anything. He was just as bad, if not worse, at that challenge than Cece was, because he couldn't even carry the damn bag. Cece took forever. At least she carried the bag.
Yeah.
Paul did not. Paul is useless. You don't want somebody. Paul could have been Tarzan if he had made it longer.
Don't do Tarzan like that.
To that end, he's gone. Thank God I did not have to see Paul's underpants. Thank God.
Is that tonight's episode, Paul's underpants? Maybe. We'll talk about it in a little bit. Okay, Steven, you love Sunday and you love Jessica and you see them making big moves. Go ahead and explain where you think the future is.
Well, I had a real quick comment on Paul before jumping to Jessica. But with Paul, as much as you want to meet Shield, it's final 18. You can't think of like, oh, how am I going to keep this person far at final 18? Because, they may be a meat shield, but they're going to be someone else's better meat shield. But with Jessica and Sunday, and more of a Jessica fan than a Sunday fan. I will say, coming into this, I thought Sunday was going to be the person to win out, but Jessica has been bringing it. Like, she came to play. Her and her pink eyes are like they're piercing through my soul. And I actually think she was the one who Paul was like, yeah, if there's a guys alliance, I'll just be like, you're on your own. And like Jessica's reaction was perfect. It was like if you're gonna,
what?
Yeah, she was. I'm guessing, like, I don't know how this works in the world of law, but I guess it's like if someone said something really stupid and incriminating, she's just like, oh, well, that was easier than I thought. Like,
yeah.
Oh my gosh! And I wrote on my notepad of notes for this episode, "Lol, Paul, literally so stupid." After he said that. So yes, it was literally so stupid.
It was literally so stupid. So
and literally so great of Jessica to pick up on it.
All right, before we dive into some questions I have about your gameplay, Alicia, did you have any other questions you wanted to throw out about this current episode, stuff we haven't addressed?
Yeah, we haven't talked about the challenge itself, so I'm going to be talking about that at any point during this podcast.
Oh, let's go ahead, because we can tie it all in. Yeah.
Great. So we'll go. Yeah. So we've skipped over the challenge, but we're going back. So we talk about Cece being so slow, and Jeff literally being like. He was all but saying, Cece, get off and let me drive out, like giving so many hints.
Yes.
It was crazy. Artis, does Jeff kind of do that a lot more than we might be able to see? Is he kind of like giving you subtle or not so subtle, like hints as to like what to be doing or saying or playing?
What I like about Jeff, it's not like he's giving you subtle hints. He's actually telling you how the game is going. And it's like, it's on you what you want to do with it. And if you leave her up there, he's going to keep riding her.
Yeah, he was like a war correspondent. Like, Cece is literally moving like a turtle. It was ridiculous.
And it was just her pride, because he did everything but tell them to look at how they're doing it. Do it their way. You do not have to carry that bag over the plank. You can let somebody else carry the bag. You just have to walk across.
Right.
But it's that pride. It was that pride thing with the millennials. That's like, I've got to do this. This is my job. I have to do it. Yeah. Even if I can't pick it up, I've got to do it. And I'm like, no.
And that's why us millennials are
and that mentality kind of had me thinking, do we almost see the Gen X tribe as kind of like the blue collar tribe and the millennial tribe as the red collar tribe?
I'm getting,
so that's starting to kind of be, what? Colin, what? Did we hear my question?
No.
No?
I can hear it.
I heard your question.
We're good. Okay. Crisis of
Okay, we're good. Sorry about that.
No, it's cool. So do we see the Gen X as like the blue collar and the millennials as like red collar from Worlds Apart? Because I started kind of making that parallel with like that we've got to finish this and work ethic and like do it.
Nah, I'd say the millennials are like no collar.
Exactly.
Oh, right. Red collar, the red tribe, no collar tribe. There we go. I was so close. Yeah. But even though Cece was kind of, messing things up a little bit for her tribe, what I loved seeing during the challenge was actually Zeke and Michelle, who ended up doing the puzzle portion for the millennials. Yes. There was a quick shot of them hanging back and really like taking in that puzzle as it was being knocked down. And so it was like, ooh, like this is so great. Like, in the moment, Artis, when you're doing the challenges, do you have time to kind of start strategizing, or are you all just like focused on, the little challenge you're working on right now? Like, how is that difficult to balance, I imagine?
It's not that. You get a few minutes when he says, I'll give you a minute to strategize, and then that's when you figure out who's going to do what. And once you know you're doing the puzzle, and in that particular situation, the puzzle was there, and he told you they're going to knock it down, and you got to put it back together. Then your whole job, if you're not tossing the sandbags to the person, your whole job is to stand there and study that puzzle, because you got to put it back together. So that's exactly what they did.
Awesome. Yeah, and then my one other thing about the challenge is after the challenge, when the millennials really wanted that fishing gear, and we're tossing it out.
I would not. You do not give anybody an advantage in this game, which is that's a sore spot with me. That's a really sore spot with me.
Which I totally agree with. But my question is this: so Ken is the one that stands up and is like, "Hey, on behalf of the tribe, no, I'm contacting you. You're not getting your fishing gear." smart choice or bad for, like, does it not really matter, or maybe bad for gameplay moving forward? What do we think?
To me, it didn't matter because, you know, people could say that might have put a target on his back for when they get to the merge and they get together and say he's the guy that didn't want to give us our fishing gear. But I actually believe that it's not going to hurt him, because when he gets to the merge, he's going to be one of the people from Gen X that they're going to try to pull in on their side.
All right, fair enough. Kai, you had something to add?
I feel like in this particular case, if you have bad news, why not deliver it in the most pleasant way possible? I think maybe they were thinking about that when letting Ken say it. As opposed to just the pink guy or Paul bring it, you know.
Oh, no.
Kendall was probably the best palatable way to say you're not getting fish today.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Oh,
All right. So that does it for my page of notes. Colin, we can move on to your like mysterious, exciting.
I have a couple things. I have a couple things I want to talk to Artis about.
Teasing us.
We have Lucy right now. It's been 3 episodes, and she's been given 0 confessionals. And here's the thing. Exactly, Lucy. Who?
It was literally right about, she's gonna get a ton. Who.
Yeah. And she is going to get a lot of airtime next week. But I have a question, Artis. Does production warn you? Because, like, let's talk about with your season. You didn't get that many confessionals. In fact, production got a lot of shit because you weren't given enough screen time. Do you think that was just because you were called in between Pete's and Abby's big edit? Or, like, this? What is going through your head when you're watching the show like that?
I tell people
you're not getting the screen time.
Right. I know a lot of people get upset about their screen time and everything. And what I tell people is this. Is production has to put together a show, all right? And they can't put together that show until they know who makes it at the end. And so they have to tell the story backwards. So a lot of times, a lot of the stuff that fans would love to see, they don't get to see because it's not part of the story that they're trying to tell. Everybody gets the same number of confessionals. It's just a matter, well, I can only assume and go by the experience on our season. Everybody gets the same number of confessionals, and it all depends on what you say in it and how it plays out according to what happens. Like with our season, I don't know how many times I kept trying to tell my tribe, stop playing the goddamn game. If you don't go to tribal council, you don't get put on television. What part of that don't y'all understand?
You can just imagine this. Oh my gosh.
I mean, we did get to see Mike Scoop and get hurt a lot, which that must be somewhat vindicated.
He was a
we got to see that a lot.
He was a walk. Yeah. He was literally a walking disaster area, and we couldn't lose. We could not even we did not eat for like 4 or 5 days. We went into tribal council we went into the challenge knowing we were going to lose this challenge and go to tribal council. And on my confessional, I said this is going to be an epic tribal council because I'm fitting to get Mike out of here one way or another. And we still won. I'm like, God damn, I can't.
Yeah. So just to clarify, production spends the same amount of time with each person filming their confessionals, but they're only going to show the ones that are relevant to the story. And because you won so damn much, it kind of leaves you out.
Right, unless you're actually trying to be, unless you're trying. My season was weird because out of all the contestants, there was only maybe 4 regular people. We had TV stars, sports stars, returning. We had everything on our season, and a lot of people say they played the game and they were out there trying to get put on television. And I was like, really? Really? Do y'all understand we are playing for $1 million, or do you just don't need it?
Oh God.
Because we should have, and I tried to tell them. I said, if you want to go down in history, they have set us up to go down in history. We are the only tribe that was set up to run the freaking table on the show. We could have ran the table. And I'm like, we do not have to play the game until there's nobody but us left. All right. Mm-hmm. So stop. Stop. They made it easy for us. They did not account for that. They did not account for one tribe being able to run the table. Run the table, and then let's just fight it out amongst ourselves.
And I mean, you're not wrong, because something that happens a lot in my personal online Survivor experiences, one tribe has a huge amount of numbers, another tribe has a little amount of numbers, and then the big tribe tears themselves apart, and someone from the little tribe wins, and it's like, oh, if we would have actually just, been a little bit less in our head, we could have done something.
Oh, it was. I told one of my confessionals. I told him we're like a dysfunctional family. We're like we're gonna talk bad about us. We don't have nothing good to say about any of us, but we ain't gonna let you beat us. We were, and I was like, I said, this is. The more they kept playing, and the more they kept trying to be on TV, That's why that's when I started getting tagged the angry black man, because I was like, you are a fucking bunch of idiots.
Well, and actually, real quick, I wanted to make a joke about that. I remember you saying in an exit interview that you just have a resting, angry face. And so because I remember when I was doing Philippines coverage, because that was the first season I did this with, I was like, Artis just always has a scowl on his face, and that's just how your face naturally rests.
Yeah, it is. If I'm not smiling, and I'm not really a little dude, I'm not a small dude. So if I'm not smiling, I can understand how it literally people can get intimidated and be like, man, I hope he doesn't see he's not mad at me. Just like, and my thing is, I had to change my whole game day one, because when we finally got to the island and you start introducing yourselves and meeting your other tribe mates, every single person on my tribe said when they saw me, they were scared to death of me. I'm like, oh shit, I'm the first one going home.
Oh my gosh. Were you like, are you scared of how much you like me?
No. I'm like, I've got to put on this smiling face and walk around happy and go lucky. And I'm like, I can't be seen looking for the idol. I can't be seen. I was like, this is crazy. But I still had the time of my life, because like I said, it took me 10 years to make it on the show. So I tell people it is worth it.
Wow.
So if you were to get a chance, would you go back? Because originally you said you would. Are you still in the same boat?
If they call me right now, I wouldn't even have to pack. I'd go straight to the airport. But it's just like I told, I literally told Jeff and Mark Brunette, they asked me when, at the very beginning, it was like, when they were casting or when they were looking for the cast, they was like, well, what do you really think your chances are? And I literally told them, I said, you give me one shot at $1 million with 20 other people, and it's about a 75 to 85% chance that I win. If you bring me back again, just write my name on the damn check.
Yeah.
Well, I love that. So much confidence. It's great.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I think Artis, if there wasn't returning players, I think you would have done really well. And it's just from how, you seem to be a bit calm, and you seem to be really good at reading social dynamics from what I've seen.
Oh yeah, and the only thing that got me, like I said, I love Denise with all my heart. I really do. We just never got a chance to talk. But when I found out she was, because when you're playing this game, I know at home everybody's like, oh, what a wonderful blind side. I'm like, maybe on that season, but on my season, if your ass didn't know your name was getting wrote down, something was wrong with you.
Well, you did have one of the most interesting seasons in a while, because it came off of One World, which was pretty non-entertaining, and then it was followed by Fans vs. Favorites 2, which if you would have been on it, maybe it would have been a bit better. So I'm going to throw a question at you. I don't think you've ever been asked before. Are you ready?
Okay, let's go.
Okay, so in the Life at Ponderosa video, part 2, on your way to Tribal Council. Yeah, on your way to Tribal Council, you're wearing this very flashy yellow outfit. And RC says, is he trying to look like a banana? Why is it then when we cut to you at Tribal Council, you're no longer wearing that outfit? Did production make you take it off? What happened?
No. They didn't. They never made us change clothes at all.
Okay.
They never made it. I was comfortable in that. I had no problem. I wear any color, pink, yellow, white. I don't care. I think I look good in anything. And RC was just being RC at that time. And at that time, me and Pete, we were dead set on getting rid of RC, and we had nothing good to say about RC because her tying herself with Mike. But as you all know, RC and I buried the hatchet because we got a long talk going on, and it freaked a lot of people in the Ponderosa out when they were coming out of the game and seeing, they were like, wait a minute, what happened here that him and RC and Artis are all hooked up? But we buried our hatchet.
But what happened though? What happened? What happened to that outfit though? Why were you wearing it on your way to Ponderosa or to Tribal Council, but you weren't wearing it at Tribal Council?
No, really? No, I thought anything that I wore to Tribal Council, I kept on. I don't remember changing. I don't remember changing clothes at Tribal Council.
All right, I'll send you a link to the video. At Ponderosa Season 2, you're already voted out, and you're wearing a yellow outfit going to Tribal Council.
Yeah, my yellow sweatpants, my yellow shirt.
Maybe with the lighting.
Oh, that might have been
Maybe
it.
it was the lighting.
Yeah, they were concerned about lighting. When you get out there, they were concerned about lighting and the light reflecting off of it and blacking you out or whitening you out, whatever. So that may have been why. If I did change, that might have been why. But other than that, yeah, they don't do anything like that.
Myth busted. All right. So before we wrap up for today, I want to talk about who we think actually is getting a good edit besides Ken, because that's something I just can't wrap my head around. Is this season's doing a very good job of portraying everyone's strengths and weaknesses, and for some people a little bit more than the other. But real quick, I'm going to go through everyone. Tell me who you think actually could potentially win this game just based on the edit. And I'm going to start with you, Ty.
I'm going to pick one from each tribe. I think Jessica is playing well on the Gen X tribe. I think she has a good head on her shoulders. I think she's basically the de facto power player, at least until they swap, and I don't think she has bad relations with anybody. When people like Ken was talking to her about flipping it on Paul, I think she's in good shape. I think Adam has a good head on his shoulders on the Millennial tribe. I think he's going to come out of his position smelling like roses and do pretty well.
Okay, and then Steven, who is actually getting a good edit this season?
I'm going to concur, and I'm going to say Jessica from Gen X. I think she's definitely like kicking butt, taking names. And then as for Millennials, it's hard to say. I think. Oh goodness, I was going to say Hannah before you, Colin, but no, I'm going to go with Zeke. I'll say Zeke.
Oh, I loved Hannah up until this episode, and I actually thought she had a good shot at winning, and she still does, but she broke her. We had our first couples fight. She just doesn't know it yet. All right, Artis, what about you? Is there anyone who's standing out besides Ken, edit-wise, that you think could potentially win?
I'm going to tell you like this. My sleeper is going to be David, and this is why. He has the idol. Nobody has a clue he has the idol, and nobody considers him a threat. They will keep him around. Yeah. Except Kim, but they will keep him around, and they're gonna make the mistake of keeping him around, and he's gonna get to use that idol at the last possible moment that he could to keep him in the game. So I'm gonna pick David from Gen X, and then I also have to go with Adam from the Millennials. I like him. I like Adam.
And now that you're saying it, I can kind of see that. And Alicia, is there anyone who we haven't covered yet who you think could potentially be a dark horse?
I'm gonna think positive and choose my winner pick, Michelle.
Ooh.
I mean, honestly, if she lies low, I see it happening.
All right, just tell me how you really feel.
All right. The last piece of business I want to get to before we officially wrap things up is our fan winner pick contest is still going on, viewers. So post the name of Survivor player in the box below. Oh, some of the people are already taken, but we still have some people left. YouTube watchers, just post the name of the contestant below. If you're the first one to post that name, you pick that person. If that person wins, you get a whole bunch of free stuff. We still have Lucy, Adam, Brett, Jessica, Ken, Michelle, Hannah, Zeke, Taylor, and Will in the up for grabs. Also, I want to point out, very funny, someone managed to pick Mari. What was her name? Mari, yeah.
Mari.
Mari. He picked Mari 5 minutes before the episode aired last week.
Oh,
so
well, that's
embarrassing. I think it was Brandon something. I'm not 100% sure.
Way to call it out like that.
So I don't want to give this person too much stuff. The person had the courage to join us in our contest, and
they should get props for stepping up.
Yeah. All right. So I just want to thank Alicia. I want to thank Ty. And I want to thank Steven. And I want to give a huge thank to you, Artis. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure. And oh my goodness, be sure to check out next week. We have another special Survivor guest lined up, and it's going to be fantastic. Good night.
Bye.
Bye, guys.